Look, we all know the US immigration system is about as straightforward as a game of quantum chess played on a moving roller coaster. For people from certain Asian countries, getting a visa isn't just complicated. It's like trying to win the lottery while riding a unicycle on a tightrope, blindfolded. Whether it's for study, tourism, or work, some nations are stuck on an unofficial blacklist. So buckle up as we unpack the top 10 Asian countries with the highest US visa denial rates. And we're not talking about countries run by supervillains with nuclear ambitions, although that doesn't help. Myanmar, also known as Burma, a land of golden pagodas and, well, decades of political turmoil that would make your average soap opera look like a calming cup of chamomile tea. From military juntas to the Rohingya crisis, Myanmar has been caught in a cycle of conflict and repression. The 2021 coup hit the reset button on any hope of normal relations with the West. Lack of a stable government? Check. Human rights concerns? Check, check. High risk of overstaying your visa? Check, check, check. It's a trifecta of red flags for US immigration officials, leaving students under extra scrutiny and work visas rarer than a unicorn riding a Segway through Yangon. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, or rather, the complex geopolitical situation that is the Palestinian territories. For Palestinians, even getting to the starting line of a US visa application is an Olympic sport in bureaucratic hurdles. Security vetting becomes a nightmare, and limited embassy presence in Gaza and the West Bank doesn't exactly scream welcoming. The result? Student visa applicants drowning in paperwork, while tourists and workers are often left wondering if it would be easier to just, walk across the Atlantic Ocean. Bangladesh, a country with a vibrant culture and a burgeoning tech scene. So, you'd think getting a visa wouldn't be a Herculean task, right? Wrong. A history of overstays and forged documents hasn't exactly endeared them to the US Embassy. The impact? Students with full scholarships from prestigious universities might as well be holding winning lottery tickets. They've got a shot. But for those seeking tourist or work visas, unless you're backed by a multinational corporation or a Nobel Prize-winning humanitarian organization, prepare for disappointment. It's like showing up to a job interview with a resume printed in Comic Sans and claiming to be fluent in Klingon. Not a great first impression. Pakistan, a nation of breathtaking beauty and a relationship with the United States that's more complicated than a season finale of Game of Thrones. Since 9/11, things haven't exactly been a walk in the park. Terrorism concerns and intelligence controversies have created an atmosphere of suspicion. For Pakistanis, that translates into being flagged as high risk by US visa algorithms faster than you can say drone strike. And as for tourist and work visas, well, unless your sponsor is a Fortune 500 company with a direct line to the White House, don't hold your breath. Iraq, a country with a history as old as civilization itself, and a present still grappling with the aftermath of the 2003 US-led invasion. Incomplete documentation? Understandable when your country's infrastructure is still recovering from war. The result? Students are often left out in the cold unless they're part of some high-level exchange program personally endorsed by the Secretary of State. Work visas? Mostly reserved for those involved in government-related activities. Yemen, a land of ancient history and a current situation that can only be described as an apocalyptic hellscape. We're talking about a country ravaged by civil war and a humanitarian crisis. Diplomatic relations with the US? Let's just say they're about as warm and fuzzy as a cactus. No embassy access? Check. National security concerns? Check, check. For Yemenis, even thinking about a US visa feels like a cruel joke. Syria, a country that was once a cradle of civilization, is now synonymous with one of the most brutal and protracted civil wars in modern history. Years of conflict and a refugee crisis have made it the poster child for US travel bans. Even under the Biden administration, security vetting takes longer than it takes to binge-watch all 10 seasons of Friends. For Syrians, getting a US visa is like trying to win a staring contest with Medusa. It's nearly impossible and usually ends badly. Student visas are about as rare as a sober night in Vegas. Tourists and workers are more likely to be struck by lightning while simultaneously winning the lottery. Iran, a nation with a history as rich and complex as a Persian rug, and a relationship with the US that's been stuck on "it's complicated" since the 1979 revolution. Decades of tension and sanctions have turned the visa process into a bureaucratic nightmare. There's no US embassy in Iran. That's strike one. For Iranians, even thinking about a US visa is enough to induce an existential crisis. STEM students are subjected to administrative processing that makes waiting for a root canal feel like a trip to Disneyland. Tourist and work visas. You're more likely to see a unicorn riding a camel through Tehran. North Korea, the Hermit Kingdom, a land shrouded in secrecy, ruled by a regime that makes Orwell's 1984 look like a heartwarming tale of friendship and sunshine. The US and North Korea, let's just say they're not exactly BFFs. No diplomatic relations, travel bans, and a track record of successful visa applications that's shorter than Kim Jong-un's list of approved haircuts. Work visas, tourist visas, student visas, they're all about as likely as finding a Starbucks in Pyongyang. If you're a North Korean citizen dreaming of the American dream, you might as well be dreaming of winning an intergalactic dance-off against a team of sentient robots. Afghanistan, a country scarred by decades of war, where the US spent 20 years trying to build a nation, only to see it crumble faster than a cookie in the hands of a toddler. The Taliban's back in charge, and the visa situation. Let's just say it's about as stable as a Jenga tower built on a waterbed during an earthquake. Embassies, closed. For Afghans, especially those who aided the US during the war, the dream of a US visa has become a cruel mirage. Student visas are sometimes granted through special humanitarian channels, but for everyone else hoping to visit, work, or simply escape the chaos, the future looks about as bright as a blackout in a coal mine. So there you have it, folks. A whirlwind tour of the 10 Asian countries facing the steepest uphill battle when it comes to getting those coveted US visas. Is it fair? Not really. The reality is, US visa decisions are a tangled web of global politics, past trends, and national security concerns that are often as clear as mud. For applicants from these countries, preparation, meticulous documentation, and the patience of a saint are key. And even then, approval is never guaranteed. Because when it comes to US immigration, sometimes it's not about who you are but where you're from that determines your fate.